Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So just recently, it's been going back viral again. Unfortunately, what happened to Twitch Boss, the dancer who used to work with Ellen DeGeneres. He was a father, he was a son, he was a husband, he was a brother, and he was an inspiration to a lot of people. He struggled with a lot of things. Unfortunately, he allegedly, y'all know I have to say allegedly, unalived himself not too long ago. Now, I made a video shortly talking about that, and I still don't believe to this day that all the information surrounding that situation has been put out. There's something about that situation that does not sit right with me since it happened, and I really hope and pray that the truth comes to light. Whatever happened to this man, because looking at those details and the situation surrounding him, especially his connection to Ellen DeGeneres, who is not to be trusted, in case y'all didn't know, there was nothing about that situation that wasn't shady. And the sad part is there's so many people so willing to just take whatever the news shoves in our faces. They don't think things through. They don't think past the surface level. They don't use the brains that God gave them. They're so ready to just roll over and take whatever information is just thrown out there in the media. No discernment at all. And as a result, they call anybody who won't just label it what they think it might be from the surface level again, whatever they're trying to label it from the surface level, and just move on, conspiracy theorists. I done told y'all before, that is a gaslighting phrase used to shut people down whenever they're trying to uncover the truth. Once again, I hope and pray that the truth comes to light, and all these people calling people conspiracy theorists for calling this situation shady as it is, I really hope they feel real goofy if something come out about this man that was horrible, or more to what the situation actually is, as most of us already feel concerning the situation. Now, anyways, on to the topic of what's actually going on. His wife decided to come out with a memoir, if you will, detailing his life's experiences, and a lot of people are really pissed off at her over this. Rightfully so, because allegedly, apparently, this woman has gone into detail about his very personal struggles, his addictions. She alleged that he was using certain substances, even alleged possibly that there was some trauma due to something along the lines of either him being abused, something of that nature. And she has gone allegedly into detail in this memoir, calling it her memoir. And I'm kind of confused on how it's your memoir that you're talking about somebody else's pain. How does that work? Make it make sense to me. And I'm going to address the people who like to say things like, oh, well, it's none of your business. Just stay out of it because he wasn't your son, your husband, your brother, your father, whoever. First of all, the moment she made it public and decided to put it in a memoir for everybody to see and read, it became everybody else's business. That's another thing that I can't stand that people are trying to do right now. The card they're trying to play. Don't try to sell us on that, oh, it's none of y'all's business, don't say anything, bullcrap, whenever she made it everybody's business by putting it out there. You know how people could have not said anything about it, or would have kept people from talking about it? Her not talking about it. Her not putting it out there for all of us to see. A lot of people, once again, they did not like this. It did not sit well with people. For some people, as this person commented, they felt like she was tearing his name apart, so to speak. Like, why put this out now? Like, a lot of people were saying, if you didn't put it out, if he didn't talk about it whenever he was living, why would you wait until afterwards to put this out? Now, his widow, Allison Holker is her name, responded to that particular comment by saying, well, she just wanted, some light to be shed on what he was going through to try and help people. To try and help people feel safe, or encourage people to feel safe to come out and get help, get therapy, etc. But once again, she could have done that without exposing all of those details. Here's a question I keep finding myself asking, and I'll ask everybody now. Do y'all think, while she's up here trying to justify doing this, he would have wanted her to do this? Do you think he would have wanted her to put all his business out there, everything he was struggling with, all in the name of trying to help people, when she could have done that without putting all his business out there? Is that something he would have wanted? That's something that everybody needs to be asking, including her. Now, there are some people who agree with what she did. They felt like she was trying to help do exactly that. Spread awareness, get people to feel comfortable and safe once again going to get help, showing them like what happens unfortunately when you keep things bottled in and you don't go get the help, to feel safer. That's the thing that they're focusing on, especially with the men, to feel a little more vulnerable, because it's between you exploding and you self-destructing or you going and getting help. And help helps you and the people around you, because if you take you out, what's going to happen to become of the people who are around you? They're going to be hurt. They're going to be sad. They're going to be grieving. Although I still stand by what I said. And also with that particular person, she mentioned, she's allowed to share what she went through, the struggle she had to deal with in a relationship, in a married relationship with a man who was going through things that he did not talk about. And I do agree that there needs to be more conversations concerning people who are in married relationships, dealing with somebody who has addictions, struggles, traumas, especially if they are refusing to get help. If they're not choosing the get help option, what do? You have children, you have responsibilities, you're still trying to fulfill your responsibility as their spouse. What do? Because that's a hard pill to swallow that a lot of people don't think about, but a lot of people in married relationships are going through. I think that would have been a very impactful and powerful thing for her to focus on. Once again, I'm going to keep saying this, instead of the details of stuff that he was going through that she should have not exposed to everybody like that. Now, I have to ask the question, would she have even been able to have that conversation from a genuine perspective, from actual experience even? Because remember, when she was talking about what happened to him, the way she was talking, it seemed like she didn't even think he would do this to himself. She was acting like, this just came out of the blue. I didn't know he was suffering. I had no idea. She had absolutely no idea what he was going through or what he had been through, allegedly, until she found the journal that she spoke of that had all these personal details. So essentially, allegedly, she didn't know what he was going through. So once again, some of these people are trying to put on a cape for her, so to speak, talking about, she's trying to help people who may be going through the same thing, but how much help can she be if she didn't even know what he was going through until it was too late to help him? Now, I know some people might be saying, okay, you're doing all this talking, Yoshi Entertainment, about what she shouldn't have said and this, that, and the third, but why don't you give us an example, since you're talking about it, on what she should have done? Like that headline down there, short, concise, didn't tell us all of his business. She could have said, he went through a lot. He went through a lot of abuse. He was dealing with depression. I tried to reach him. Sometimes people are not reachable, unfortunately, no matter what you do. They've got to get it in their mind, somewhere in their mind, that they're going to decide to stand up and fight. Unfortunately, these are things that a lot of people deal with. And in their mind, they have to make a decision that I'm going to get up and fight today. Unfortunately, some people succumb. The weight of what they are going through, they feel like it's so heavy that they cannot go on, which unfortunately leads to what happened to this young man. She could have talked about, once again, navigating and how to handle being in a committed relationship with somebody who has a lot that they're dealing with, who's struggling with these things, how to encourage them, how to talk to them when they're in those moments, if you will, if you know what I'm talking about, how to pray for them, because whether or not y'all want to believe this or accept it or not, there are some things that some people have gone through, some trauma that is so deep, so heavy, so painful that therapy alone will not help them. That is why I'm a strong advocate for both therapy and Yeshua, because there are some things, whether y'all believe this or not, once again, that some people have went through that is so horrendous. Once again, therapy alone will not be able to help them. A lot of people have been taking the time during all of this to focus on mental health, raising awareness about mental health, the importance of it, especially where men are concerned, mostly because it gets forgotten about where men are concerned and because the situation is surrounding a man, although it's something that needs to be addressed where both men and women are concerned. This goes for both men and women. If you are going through something, if you've gone through something, extreme trauma, you're dealing with depression, thoughts of self-deletion, you need to get help. I know that it's hard sometimes because you don't want people to know. Like, some people will refuse to get therapy because they don't want people to know that they are having problems. But what is more important is your health and well-being. Your health and well-being is more important than whatever anybody in their raggedy behind might have to say about you, because you are going through something. You are important to the people around you, and you are important to God. Talk to somebody who you can trust. If you can't trust the people around you, talk to a therapist. Talk to God. Therapists cost money, but it's free to talk to God. A lot of times there's going to be this emotional pool, if you will. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't feel like engaging with anybody. I don't feel like socializing. I don't feel like telling people my problems. But you must. It is imperative for your survival. And some people might feel like they don't have a reason to survive. You have a family that loves you. If you don't have a family that loves you, once again, you have a God who loves you. And he has a will for your life. If for nothing else, live to help other people around you in any way that you can and to do God's will for your life. Hold on to that as tightly as you can and use it as the reason that you get up and keep going every day. I'm encouraging somebody today to get up and fight. Get up and continue. Get up and keep going. Fight the negative emotions. Fight these things like depression that comes upon people. Yes, it will rest upon you. You have to get up and you have to fight. Once again, I get it that some people, they get tired and that's why they throw in the towel. But once again, I'm encouraging somebody to continue fighting, especially if there are people who depend on you, like your children, your spouse. Once again, there has to be a little tough love that's inserted in here while we're talking about this stuff. Because I've told y'all before, this is where we talk about the real stuff. We talk about the truth. We address the things that other people bury their heads in the sand over. You cannot afford to give up when you have people depending on you. It affects not just you, but also them as well. Prime example, what will become of this man's children? Now they have to grow up without their father in their lives. And the same thing goes for his mother, his siblings, his friends who loved him very dearly. Now, once again, there are some people who don't believe that he committed self-deletion, although that advice, what I said, still stands for people in that position. Once again, we can talk about later on the details that even I said that don't sit right with me concerning what happened to him. Now, those people from before who were commenting in support of Allison, I don't think that they were like friends of this woman. I think these were random people on the internet showing support towards her because they agree with what she did. Now, this woman apparently allegedly has known them, the two of them, since day one. Her name is Courtney Ann Platt, and she took to social media and posted, and I quote, "Anyone who knows me knows I go straight to the source during a conflict and handle my business. But since there's clearly no shame in being so public, I haven't said a word in 2 years, but here I go. I was there the moment you both connected. I was there the day you got engaged. I stood by your side on your wedding day. I was in your home the day he self-deleted. I was by your side because your husband was my family. It didn't matter how often we spoke, how often we saw each other. We bonded forever. This is by far the most tacky, classless, opportunistic act I have ever seen in my entire life. We all had to sign some weird NDA to attend his funeral. Even his own mother, who you've treated like garbage this entire time. And let's just remember, you wouldn't have even had a husband if it wasn't for her." End quote. Now, there's some more that she said that we're going to get into later. But first, let's address her calling this woman out. This was allegedly somebody who spent a lot of time around him and Allison. This was somebody who knew them very well for a while, for a very long time. So she has credibility. And it also makes the people who were defending Allison and the people who were calling people haters for calling her out for what she did and saying it was wrong, questionable. It makes those people very, very questionable. And it also makes them seem very ridiculous, especially the people who didn't really know them like that. Because once again, if somebody who was close to them, who knew them very well, said that she was wrong for this and said that she was tacky and classless for it, I'm going to take the friend's word for it. I'm going to take Miss Platt's word for it. And once again, it calls into question the motives behind which Allison had in doing this, which I believe personally her motives were in the trash. Y'all know I have to say allegedly though. And again, we have to say allegedly, her saying that this woman made them all sign NDAs, including his own mother, before they got to the funeral. That's disgusting. And if what she's saying is true, once again, what do all these people who are kissing Allison's behind and saying that what she did was okay have to say about that? If it's true that she made them sign NDA so they couldn't say anything, or they were limited on what they could say concerning this situation, or him possibly, but she's putting out a whole memoir about some issues that she did not personally struggle with, that says a lot about her, and it's a lot of disgusting things about her. This woman also called out Allison's alleged behavior towards Twitch boss's mother, saying that she treated that woman like garbage. That's the exact words that she used. I'm not putting any words into her mouth. That's what she said. We just got done reading it. So if she's saying that this woman treated his mother badly and she was around them again, I'm going to take her word for it over someone who was not there. And on top of that, you'll have the people coming out of the woodwork, because I already know they're going to do it. Oh, well, you don't know what his mother was like, and she could have been this, she could have been that. But once again, we weren't there to see the interactions between them. And to side with Allison because she is his widow is one-sided. Again, especially when you have somebody who is alleging she was around them, who's saying that this woman was not nice to his mother, it's very one-sided. And it's really not fair either, because we have not gotten his mother's side of the story, his family's side of the story, all just Allison and her in front of the cameras and the public and this memoir. Now, there were some other things that Miss Platt said in that post. It got cut off with the picture. But basically, she was talking about the NDA a little bit more that they were made to sign right after that last part where the picture got cut off. She was talking about how the implications behind them being made to sign the NDA was so that they wouldn't say anything that would reflect badly back up on Steven, that would tarnish his reputation or his name. And she was basically calling this out, saying, we wouldn't have done that about him or towards him or to him anyways. They were his family and his friends. They loved him too much to do something like that. So why she would feel the need to have them sign NDAs was beyond her, knowing that they would not do something like that anyways. And on top of that, she would turn around after making them sign those NDAs, allegedly, y'all know I have to say allegedly, and then release his memoir. So they can't say anything, but she can tarnish his reputation, apparently. That's basically what she was saying. And I was here for all of the subtle shade that she was throwing at Allison, and she had the right to do so. She also called her out for dropping his last name on her social media accounts, allegedly 48 hours after what had happened to him. And there were some other people calling this out as well. That's why people keep saying that she's shady. I keep saying the way she was moving during that entire ordeal was very shady. People are calling this out. That's why they think that her motives were ill-placed, if you will. She also called her out and said, hey, how do you think this is going to impact the children? Don't you think this is going to impact the children in a negative way? You didn't think about your kids before you decided to exploit those details, did you? Clearly you didn't. And she also basically said, you know that this is not what he would have wanted. Everybody who cared about him knows doggone good and well this is not what he would have wanted. He would have not wanted all of that information out there in the media like that. And that's the question that I asked before. Do you actually think this is something he would have wanted? And we have our answer here with this young woman who, like I said before, was apparently allegedly a good friend of theirs, who is saying she knows and his family knows that is not what he would have wanted her to do with that information. Now, the rest of what she said that I spoke of earlier, and I quote, this smear campaign for a buck is absolutely not what he would have ever wanted, no matter how bad he was hurting, not for a second. You're a living, breathing bulldozer. Stick to your own demons. Shame on you, Allison. Shame on your money-hungry team. End quote. So once again, this is somebody, I'm going to keep saying this, who was around them, who spent time around them, who knows them better than anybody else does other than his family, who's saying that she feels like, y'all know I have to say allegedly, right? That this woman is trying to capitalize off of what happened to him. That basically she should not have put those secrets out there, that was not for her to put out there. Once again, she could have said, my husband had some issues, some trauma. He was dealing with depression and addiction. And then she could have went into her, hey, listen, whatever y'all are going through, please get some help. Because if you self-delete, the people who are left behind, we feel the pain of it. Use that as a reminder of why you should go on. And that could have been something that she could have done. That could have been a campaign that she could have had. But instead, she chose to be shady. Now, allegedly, Twitch Boss's cousin validated what this woman said. And I quote, this crazy woman made me and his actual family, including his mother, sign an NDA just even to attend the funeral. She refuses to let the boss family see the children, only to exploit and lie on my cousin. Absolutely not. So once again, there are people who are validating that her motives may not have been the purest, if you will, going into doing this. Y'all know I have to say allegedly. And the reason why a lot of people also feel this way, what's giving these ideas and feelings that people have about her, once again, legs to stand on and then take off running with, is because the shady way she went about this entire situation since it first happened. Not just that, but also when Columbus Short came out and talked about something that was going on, some kind of financial dispute. Allegedly, it had something to do. He mentioned her, some things he was dealing with that was weighing very heavily on him. That, yeah, he had been dealing with some stuff, but it was something allegedly recently that had happened that pushed him over the edge. And coupled with that odd handling of the situation that I mentioned and her response to the situation, it's screaming something is not right here. It's screaming the math is not mathing. So I can understand why people would think there's something more going on that has not been exposed yet. And she's using this to either cover it up or to make money off of it or shift the focus from what actually happened to something else. Now, y'all know the people on Twitter, aka X, was not happy about what this woman did. Chris Evans posted, and I quote, "Outing your husband's deepest, darkest secrets to the public after his self-deletion so you can sell a book is nasty work," end quote. A young woman said, and I quote, "Making his family sign an NDA before they could see his body or attend his funeral is also dirty work. She's a gross person," end quote. Another person said something very interesting that I didn't actually think about until they posted it, and I quote, "Something sinister about that people piece that proclaims it's about her healing, but it's really about her rage hiding right under the surface. She's angry at him and appears to be taking it out on his family," end quote. I didn't actually think about that until this person posted this, which is a very interesting perspective to bring up. Possibly, this could be the case, her really angry about something. Maybe she's mad at him still, which is not the way you would handle. Remember, I was talking about how you handle or approach a spouse or somebody who you are very close to, who is dealing with some very deep, dark secrets and places. That is not how you respond. Like, this person is already dealing with stuff. You don't need to be in your feelings while trying to also deal with them, handle them. But unfortunately, these are the kind of people that some people have the misfortune of being stuck with. Like I said before, I'm not setting it in stone, if you will. I'm not saying that this is a definite. I'm saying that there's a possibility that this could be the case, that she's really mad at him about something. How dare you do XYZ, whatever it is, and that's really why she's doing this. And there have been people who have responded this way in these kind of situations, believe it or not. And that needs to be taken as an example of what not to do in this situation. And that what not to do is you don't air out somebody's deepest, darkest secrets, all of their trauma that they kept hidden for a reason because you're angry at them. Especially if they were your spouse, somebody who's very close to you, and they're no longer with us. Like I said, that's just disgusting. That's like a bottom feeding level of disgusting. And that leads me into this other post that I saw on YouTube where somebody was insinuating maybe he wrote in that journal somewhere that he regretted marrying her. So that's some motive for being angry enough to air out all of this information. Like I said, allegations, speculations, all our opinions. We don't know exactly 100% what happens, although we do know that something ain't quite right with this situation. Someone commented on YouTube, and I quote, "Sometimes the person you're married to is the demon you're running from. She could have kept that between the family. Having his family sign NDAs at the funeral is absolutely insane. I hope nobody buys that book," end quote. And I completely agree. I hope nobody buys it too. Probably all the people, once again, is putting on a cape for it because they're really falling for the theatrics and whatever she's selling, the wolf cookies that she's selling, if you will. And this comment is another reminder of why I always say on this channel, be careful who you fall in love with, be careful who you give your heart to, be careful who you get into a relationship with, who you marry, who you have children with, who you entrust your future to. This goes for both men and women. Because sometimes you mess up and you get infatuated with somebody and they end up being your biggest opposition. The person who wants to bring you down. They smile in your face, the songwriter said, all the while they want to take your place. A lot of people were saying that too, that they felt like she was jealous of him. We could be wrong. We have to say allegedly. But again, be careful who you fall in love with. I'm not saying it was his fault. I'm saying you must be mindful. There's too much going on, too many wicked people out here to just be all willy-nilly giving your heart to somebody who you don't know if you can trust 100%. And speaking of trust, let's talk about that for a moment, because remember I said, go to somebody who you can trust. And if you don't have somebody who you can trust, a therapist. Unfortunately, there aren't people who you can trust. There are some people, they have no one in their immediate circle or even in their family who they can trust. So all of this is making me question, because if he put all this in a journal and didn't even talk to her about it, and I get it, sometimes people don't even talk to their spouses about what they've been through. And sometimes it might be because they don't want to burden them, or they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to know, they don't want their spouse to know about their past. But it would lead me to believe that he did not trust her with that information, or he didn't trust her to be vulnerable with her. He didn't trust her enough to be open. If that's true, we can only wonder and speculate, allegedly. Now another person said, and I quote, seriously, she could have written a book about raising their kids after his deletion, the impact it's caused on all of them, and how they are trying to move forward. There are so many ways she could have spoke about Twitch without unveiling his secrets, end quote. Now, there was a woman who did say in this Twitter thread that she felt like she was in agreement with what Allison did. And there were some people who did respond. Thank God they didn't, go off the deep end, because people be ready to rip people to shreds like sharks in murky water, if you will, on Twitter. But they were saying, commenting, replying, different reasons why they felt like she should rethink why she would agree with that decision. Again, the same things over and over again. Okay, well then how do you explain the NDA? And it wasn't just his family. Remember, it was this other young woman who had spent all this time, their very close friend, I'm assuming she is, also was made to sign the NDA, allegedly. Y'all know I have to say allegedly. And I'm so glad that she said what she said about that NDA and having been made to sign it, and what she said about how allegedly Allison treated his mother, because I know real fast it was going to turn into a race war of, it's just his black family that has an issue with what she did. No, it's not just his black family. He has friends who are also not black, who apparently were around enough to observe what was going on to be able to say what they said. But again, people were saying she could have said what she had to say. She could have encouraged people to get help for their mental state, for their mental health. She could have encouraged people to not self-delete without putting all of his secrets out there. Why, again, the NDA for his family, but not for her. That's what makes it seem even more shady. People were, coming with these very valid points, which again is why a lot of people are giving her the side eye. Now, someone on Twitter brought up something that I actually didn't even know, but apparently, allegedly, Allison made a children's book, published a children's book in honor of Twitch Boss after what happened. And I thought that was, very nice. But this one particular person was saying, why didn't she promote this? And I quote, why not promote that with love? There are so many children grieving from the loss of a loved one, my two included. She could have doubled down on using her platform for positivity, end quote. And she showed a picture of the book that was published. And I agree on that. I keep saying, what about the children? What about his children? That's another thing she could have said. That's another thing she could have brought up instead of, once again, throwing his secrets out there. How to navigate as a widow once your spouse has unfortunately self-deleted, and how you help your children navigate that as well. Another woman said, and I quote, "She for sure pulled the wool over my eyes because I love following them during their dances on IG. This is so incredibly sad. His deletion gutted me. I had the honor of meeting him when he was on tour with So You Think You Can Dance. And just the sweetest soul. My God, leave him be," end quote. And there were a lot of people, allegedly, apparently, who said that he was a very sweet, kind person, which quite honestly makes the situation even more disturbing and upsetting and saddening. Now, this one last person, she said, and I quote, "It's amazing the grace some people are willing to extend for publishing a deceased person's journal entries, even if they were a spouse. Considering the people involved, I'm not shocked by what they are doing. I won't be commenting any further, but if you know, you know." Once again, I really hope and pray that this woman has not done something horrible, his widow, that there isn't some more crazy stuff that's going on that we don't know about. Unfortunately, it would seem like every time I have said that about these situations, shortly thereafter, more has come out. Although at the same time, if something has happened, if there was some kind of foul play concerning that man's demise, I hope and pray once again that the truth comes out to light. And that if she's doing this with the wrong motives, that she is exposed for what she's doing. Because that's a heinous thing. If that is the case, that's a heinous thing to do to somebody, especially somebody who you were married to, someone who was your spouse. Once again, if you are struggling with issues of any degree, trauma that you have experienced, please seek help expeditiously. Get a therapist, go to God in prayer, get the help that you need, and continue surviving. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all of this down in the comments below respectfully. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all all have a very blessed, beautiful, and safe day.